The soft whump of the apartment door closing was the day's true starting pistol. Kendall kicked off her sneakers, leaving them in the haphazard pile by the entryway, and dropped her keys into the ceramic bowl with a satisfying clatter. Her spacious, sun-washed apartment was her sanctuary. The only sounds were the distant hum of LA traffic and the gentle whir of the air conditioning. Today wasn't for runways or red carpets. Today was for a different kind of work. In the center of her living room, cleared of its usual minimalist furniture, stood a simple tripod. On it was not a smartphone for a casual selfie, but a professional digital camera, her own. A large softbox light, rented for the occasion, stood angled nearby, casting a clean, even glow. This was her project, her idea. The concept was deconstructed futurism. She'd been inspired by a pair of vintage flight goggles she'd found at a flea market, beautiful, heavy things with thick leather straps and complex brass rivets. They felt weighty with history, not like a prop. She pulled her hair back into a messy but intentional bun, a few strands escaping to frame her face. Her makeup was minimal, just enough to even out her skin tone for the camera. She slipped on an old, soft band t-shirt and a pair of comfortable jeans. This wasn't about being Kendall Jenner. This was about being a subject, a collaborator with her own vision. She picked up the goggles, their leather cool and smooth in her hands. She clicked the remote for her camera into her palm and stood in the pool of light. The first shots were exploratory. She held the goggles up to the lens, playing with focus, the background of her own bookshelf and art prints blurring into abstract shapes. She liked the contrast of the antique tech against her modern, clean-lined apartment. Then, she put them on. The world changed. The thick glass lenses tinted everything a sepia tone. The room she knew so well felt distant, viewed through a porthole. The softbox light became a hazy sun. She could hear her own breathing, amplified slightly by the cups around her ears. This was the feeling she wanted to capture. She started to move, clicking the remote shutter in her hand. She wasn't posing, she was reacting. She tilted her head back, feeling the weight of the goggles, imagining what it must have been like for an early pilot, seeing the world from a completely new perspective. She leaned forward, peering into the lens as if searching for a landmark through clouds. She lost track of time. There was no stylist adjusting a hem, no makeup artist dabbing at shine, no director telling her to give more energy. It was just her, the quiet of her apartment, the click of the shutter, and the strange, isolating world of the goggles. She sat on the floor, cross-legged, the goggles still on, and scrolled through the images on the camera's display. There were shots where her face was serious, contemplative. Others where a small, private smile played on her lips, a reaction to the oddness of the moment. The photos were raw, a little unpolished, and utterly compelling. They felt real. Slipping the goggles off, the real world rushed back in, bright and sharp. She felt a quiet thrill. This was her normal, not the chaos of a fashion week, but the focused solitude of creating something, of playing with light and perspective in the privacy of her own home. It was a photo shoot where the only client was her own curiosity, and the only approval she needed was her own. She placed the goggles carefully back on their shelf, a successful experiment completed, already thinking about what object might inspire her next.